Yo, what's going on, Sens and fellow hockey fans, and welcome back to the Snipe and Sens weekly recap. So today we're going to be breaking down the latest week in Sens action. I am actually recording this right after the Flyers game that aired on Saturday, just because I am going to be pretty busy on Sundays, so I thought I would record this a day early, so some of these stats might be a little outdated by then. But anyways, we're going to be breaking down the three games that happened this week, including the first game, which was against the Vancouver Canucks on Tuesday. We're also going to be going over the New Jersey Devils game that happened on Thursday and the Flyers game that happened earlier today, which would, for you guys, would be the day before. We're also going to do an overall thoughts on the week and take a look at our prospects to see again how they're doing in the AHL and all that type of thing as per usual. And we're going to look ahead at next week and give some predictions. Okay, so let's get into this first game of the week, which was against the Vancouver Canucks. And this is one of those games that we should have won, but we didn't score enough early on, and that hurt us in the long run. Like, the Canucks were not doing too good going into this game. We weren't as well. So this was a game that we should have probably ended up getting the victory in. Now, basically what happened before the game, JBD would draw into the lineup, so he would be playing with Thomas Chabot, and basically Nick Holden would be scratched over Zaitsev, which is kind of dumb, but anyways, I didn't question it, and anyways, we played with Zaitsev, and JBD got his first taste of NHL action this season, which was nice. Derek Brassard got moved up to the second line. Pinto was back in the third line role, basically. And Cam Talbot would start for us. Spencer Martin would start for the Canucks. So Spencer Martin's been the better of the two goalies right now for the Canucks, and so they decided to go with him over Thatcher Demko. So the Sens would score 50 seconds into this game, so it was looking good early on as JBD actually would draw an assist on that first goal. And yeah, the Sens would go up 1-0, and we were starting to get some good ozone pressure early on. Good chances and stuff like that from guys like DeBrincat, but Spencer Martin was pretty locked in early on in a lot of those chances and keeping the Canucks in this game early on. Brady Tkachuk would take an offensive zone penalty around the halfway point of the period, which is kind of dangerous to do against the Canucks team because the Canucks are actually really good on the power play despite them being one of the worst teams in the league. They were clicking at like 30% on the power play, so to give this team looks on the power play is something you don't really want to do, but we did have a good kill, and we also did have a couple good short-handed chances, so at least it was a good penalty kill, and we didn't allow a single shot, which was nice. And they did announce mid-game, though, that Chris Neal was going to be getting his jersey number retired by the Sens on February 17th versus the Chicago Blackhawks, so that's pretty awesome. Glad to see him getting his jersey number retired because I think he's one of those type of guys that actually do deserve it, and I'll just give my quick little thoughts on that. I think he deserves it because of the fact he was a really good player in the community as well, not just on the ice, but off the ice, and that's a very important thing to have when you get your jersey number retired, in my opinion. I also played 1,000 games with one franchise as a bottom six guy. That's probably really tough to do because 1,000 games is even as just like a top six forward with one team is hard to do. Like Rick Nash, for example, didn't even spend his entire time in Columbus, yet he's getting his jersey number retired. I know he's much better of a player, but just to like to see the comparison in a sense, basically to get a bottom six guy 1,000 games with one team, that's very impossible almost because I don't think there's been a lot of bottom six type of guys that have gotten their jersey number retired by their franchises. So I think this was a good move by the Sens organization, and I'm very excited to see that jersey number hanging up there in the rafters like sometime in 2023. Now, the Sens would continue their kind of bad trend about letting in late goals as Bo Horvat would score with 52.5 seconds left to tie the game up at 1. And yeah, we're just giving up way too much late goals lately, and that has been a big problem. Late goals and early goals, I'd say, going into periods. So that's somewhere where the team needed to clean up quite a bit, but they didn't do that in this game early on. Then with 36.1 seconds left in the period, Travis Hamonic would unload a bomb and get our lead right back. So despite us giving up a late goal, we answered back with a late goal of our own. So Travis Hamonic gets his first of the season and against his former team, which is pretty cool. Tim Stützle drawing the assist. So we had a 2-1 lead after the first period. The shots were in our favor big time as well, 16-8. We were dominating on the faceoff dot, 67-33. And we even we didn't have the advantage in hits and block shots, but we were very good in terms of winning the draw at least and getting some opportunities in that first period. So it was looking pretty good early on for the most part in this one. Early into the second, we were getting some good offensive zone chances, and DeBrincat was looking pretty dangerous in the second period early on. JBD was also looking pretty solid on the back end in his first game back in the NHL. 5 minutes into the second period, we actually had 2 minutes and 37 seconds around, I think it was, of O-zone time more than the Canucks did. So we were in the offensive zone a lot more at this point in time. Kastelik was making some good made a good strong move to get a wraparound chance, but Spencer Martin managed to stop him. So the fourth line was even generating some offense, which is great to see. The fourth line also actually draws a penalty, and we accidentally got a power play opportunity again, and we had some good setups and shots, like the Brinkat had some chances, but unfortunately the power play just could not convert. Spencer Martin actually robbed Brady Tkachuk in this game as well. And then a little bit later, Hamonic was kind of caught flat-footed on the defensive end, and Mikheyev would tie this game up on 2 on a breakaway with 6 minutes and 10 seconds left. So another kind of late goal against, not as late as some of the other ones we've had this season, but still a little bit of a concern there. At this point in time, the shots were actually 31-11 for Ottawa, yet it was still 2-2 games. So Spencer Martin was definitely giving his team a chance to win in this one. Then with like 6 minutes left in the period, there was actually a fight between Luke Shen and Austin Watson, obviously two kind of physical players, so this was a nice little tilt near the end of the period. And there was a couple late big saves by Cam Talbot, as we kind of had a little bit of a bad problem defensively late in the period as per usual, and Cam Talbot was coming up big to keep this game tied. There was a good chance on the breakaway for Brady, but Martin lost his mask on the play after the first shot hit him in the mask, so basically the play got blown dead after that point. And then with only 3 minutes left or so in the period, Nikita Zaitsev takes another bad penalty. He's been taking a lot of bad penalties this season, and the Canucks got a power play opportunity, but it was a good penalty kill because Cam Talbot was making some good saves. Now at this point after the second period, the shots were 35-16 in favor of Ottawa, face-offs 58-42, so a little bit more even in that sense. But the block shots were 12-15 or 12-5 in favor of Vancouver, so they were blocking a lot more chances, and the hits were even at 19 apiece, so we were getting back into the physical game a bit too. Then the third period, on the second shot of the third period, Bo Horvat would score again. He's been scoring a lot of goals this season. I believe he's up to like 13 goals. So he scores, and the Canucks go up 3-2 early in the third. And the Sens kind of deflates the Sens a bit. We're giving up a lot of dangerous chances at this point early on, and the Canucks are getting a lot of energy out of it. Now, Batherson fans on a rebound, which probably could have been a goal, but unfortunately he just could not elevate it up enough. So there was another offensive zone penalty against Brady, so we kind of have a little bit of a problem, it seems like lately at least, taking penalties in the offensive zone. So the Vancouver Canucks would go to the penalty, but we do manage to kill it off, which was good to see that. Now, what wasn't good is right as the penalty expired, Brock Besser would deflect a puck in, and the Canucks would go up by 2 goals and up 4-2. So at this stage, we're down by 2 goals in the third period. It's not looking too good at that stage. Now, Giroux draws a penalty on JT Miller, and on the power play we have with 7:26 left, Drake Batherson puts it right through the crease. It honestly could have almost went in if somebody's stick would have been right there to tap it in, but unfortunately it just goes right through the crease, and it's still 4-2 Vancouver at that point. Now, a big power play goal came from Tim Stützle on this power play, though, as an Alex DeBrincat would draw the assists, and it would be a 4-3 game. So we were back within 1, and it was like, okay, maybe we actually have a chance to still tie this game up, considering we were dominating the game in terms of shots. Can we tie this game up? So it was good to see the power play actually finally click, because the power play has been kind of flat as of late going into this game. And then Chabot and Branny actually make a terrible turnover. Both the two of them kind of got a little bit jumbled in the corner, and it lands on the stick of Studnicka, and Studnicka would score his first with the Canucks and make it a 5-3 game for them with 5 minutes to go. So now once again we're down by 2, even though we just got back within 1, so another big problem there. And then Vancouver takes another penalty to put Coles in for a delayed game. Once again, we go to the power play, and Claude Giroux would score with 2:51 left to make it a 5-4 game. But as always, the Sens cannot find that goal to tie it up, and unfortunately, the Canucks would get an empty net goal to seal the deal at 6-4. So once again, we kind of lost the game by 1 goal, just because if you negate the empty net goal, we lost by 1 basically. So once again, another close game that we cannot find the way to equalize, unfortunately. So another loss into the loss column. That would be at that point 6 in a row, which is not good at all, obviously, when we had a 4-game winning streak at one point. So the final shots in this game were 41-28 in favor of the Sens. So once again, we kind of outplayed them, but unfortunately we could not find the ways to capitalize early on, like I was mentioning earlier. Also, the hits were in our favor, 25-24, so we managed to get back in the physical game, which was good. The faceoffs were also in our favor, 57-43, so unfortunately we could not, even though we won a majority of the draws, we could not find ways to capitalize to get more goals. And Vancouver obviously had the shot blocks and stuff in their favor, 16-10, just because of the fact we were throwing a lot more pucks at the net, but for some reason we managed to lose this game by 2 goals. Okay, so let's get into the second game of the week, which was against the hot New Jersey Devils, which going into this game, I believe they were 9-3 or 10-3. And yeah, this was going to be a tough task regardless of the scoreline. We end up losing this one by a score of 4-3 in overtime. So the day before this game, actually the Sens waived Hellberg and they waived Zaitsev, which was nice to see them waive Zaitsev. Hellberg, unfortunately, would get claimed by Seattle, so he goes right back to where he was. So Hellberg might be a one-game legend for the Sens unless he ends up coming back to this organization at some point, but I don't think that's going to happen. And Nikita Zaitsev was definitely not claimed. He's down there now. He's probably going to play in Belleville, I would assume, unless for some reason it's just one of those moves where we put him on waivers and then we still use him as a seventh defenseman, which could be the case. So Nick Holden would draw into the lineup because of that. Anton Forsberg would start in net, and Vitek Vanecek would start in net for New Jersey. New Jersey was on a 7-game winning streak going into this game, so a lot rid on this game. Basically, we wanted to end our losing streak, and New Jersey wanted to continue their winning streak, so both teams were pretty hungry for the victory. Early into the game, the Devils would take a penalty on Brendan Smith. Brendan Smith's not a very disciplined player, but he took the penalty early, and we got some good looks on the power play, but we didn't get actually any shots on goal because New Jersey was just good at shutting down those plays and blocking those shots that get through. So unfortunately, we didn't generate a whole lot, but we did have some good chances that could have resulted on shots on goal. Unfortunately, on the third shot of the game for the Devils, Thomas Tatar would score and make it 1-0 on only the third shot of the game for the Devils, and it basically bounced off of Parker Kelly and in really early into the period, only 4:44 in. So the Sens found themselves down early in the period as they usually do, which is not a good sign. Now the Devils were starting to get momentum after this. They got definitely a lot of dangerous chances. And then there was another penalty to Brendan Smith for holding. Like I said, he's not really a disciplined player, so he takes a second penalty in his opening period. And Shane Pinto would score on a nice deflection off a great pass from Claude Giroux that went through a defenseman's legs. Also, really good play by Sanderson to hold that play into the zone and draw a bunch of attention over to the one side. And yeah, we basically would tie up on our fourth shot of the game, and it would be 1-1. The power play honestly didn't look like much until that play developed, so it was good to see us get another power play goal. So the power play is starting to heat up a little bit with the goals in back-to-back games now. Now the Sens would continue to get some momentum after that goal as the fourth line would make a very good shift, and basically they would force a good turnover and we would take a 2-1 lead. And it was a goal from Travis Hamonic again, and Mark Kastelik would draw the assist as Hamonic basically got open after Kastelik made a very good play to steal the puck away and center it to the point. And yeah, Hamonic has goals in back-to-back games in these last two games. That was with 7 minutes left in the period. There was a big save by Forsberg right after that, so the Devils almost came right back to tie the game up, but Forsberg keeping us with that lead, which was crucial. Tim Stützle would take a penalty with 6 minutes left, unfortunately, but there were some great plays by Jake Sanderson on this penalty kill as he blocked 2 shots. He was looking like a beast. That might have been one of the best defensive shifts I've seen him play, even though he has been really good so far this season. So it was good to see Jake Sanderson doing really good on the penalty killing unit, and we managed to kill it off. Now, unfortunately for us, with a minute 54 left, we'd give up another late goal as Nico Hischier would take a long-range wrist shot, and it would kind of catch Forsberg by surprise, and we'd have a 2-2 game going into the third. So, unfortunately, another late goal again. So this team continues to let in late goals, and I don't really know what the problem is with it, if the team just kind of, if they don't do enough in the late stages of periods or what, but it's been a consistent problem through the last, at least going into this game against Devils, was I'd say the last 5 or so games we've let in late goals or early goals in the periods. So a bit of a problem and a consistent theme for sure. So it'd be 2-2 after 1 period to play. The shots would be 11-7 in favor of New Jersey, so we weren't really out of it in terms of shots early on, which is good to see that. The faceoffs were 55-45 in our favor, and once again, we've been a good faceoff team still this season, so I do like to see that we're in the positives a lot of the games. The block shots were 7-5 in favor of us as well, so New Jersey throwing a lot of shots to the net makes sense that we block a lot, and the hits were also in our favor, 6-3. We then would go to the second period, and New Jersey would walk basically right to the front of the net, so not a lot of defensive coverage early on, and a rebound would pop to Miles Wood, who would make it 3-2 early on. A little bit of a bad play by Eric Brandstrom on that goal, and the Sens would be once again trailing in another game, and once again allow another early goal. The Sens were then running around a bit. Hishe had a big chance, but another big save by Forsberg. So the team's kind of straying away from that early good first period, or not early first period, but that good like little stretch where we scored 2 quick goals. Then we were all of a sudden playing back like we were playing at the beginning of the game, which was not a great sign. Shots were 7-1 for the Devils, only 3:46 into the period. So they were out shooting us, and they were getting a lot of chances early on into this period. So we're not playing good. And then the shots were 10-1 for the Devils 5 minutes in. So they got a ton of chances in a short span, and our team was looking quite flat-footed at this stage. Shane Pinto would get a couple good looks, so he would get us at least a couple chances in this period, and it was still going to be 3-2 Devils at this stage. So Chabot would take a goalie interference penalty as he tried to drive to the net, and unfortunately for Vanacek, it basically, I think his head got clipped a little bit, so he goes down with an injury, but he is going to stay in the game at this stage. The Sens would kill off this penalty though, and Anton Forsberg would make some big saves to keep us within 1. We get a little bit of sustained pressure, but not too much of it, and the period would end with us being down 3-2. The shots would be 32-15 in favor of New Jersey, so they definitely picked up the tempo a lot in that period, considering the shots were 11-7 after 1, and now all of a sudden it was 32-15. Like, the shots were 21-11 for New Jersey in this period, so we kind of lost the game in this period alone, I should say. The faceoffs were 50-50, block shots were 14-8 in favor of us, and hits were in our favor as well, 11-5. So basically we're doing good pretty much everywhere else except for generating shots on goal. Now in the third period, Pinto would score early in front of his friends and family to get a tie game with 129 in unassisted. So Pinto with 2 goals in front of his, like I said, his buddies from North Dakota and whatnot. There were some pretty good clips of those guys celebrating. So yeah, this was nice to see Shane Pinto pick up 2 goals, and he's been really good this season. He's now up to like 8 goals. So really good to see Pinto continuing. Now with 8 minutes left in this third period, Akira Schmid would actually come in net and to replace Vanacek. So Vanacek, even though he was in the game after the Chabot incident, he basically would leave the game due to whatever happened to him. Basically, I guess his head getting clipped. I don't know what his injury is listed as, but anyways, Thomas Chabot would technically have injured him, and Akira Schmid would come in and play the rest of this game. Now, we were getting some good chances towards Akira Schmid, trying to score on him early because obviously he wouldn't be fully warmed up, but still he managed to make some saves late in this period and into overtime as well. Sanderson lost his stick on one play and managed to play defensively really well without it, and there's some big saves also on that opportunity by Forsberg, so Forsberg trying to get us that 1 point at least in this one. And yeah, this game would go to overtime. The shots would be 39-22 New Jersey. Faceoffs 51-49 in favor of us. 22-10 block shots in favor of us. And then the hits 14-6 in favor of us. So we basically were in favor of everything except for shots on goal at this. We then go to overtime. So this is our first overtime game of the year. We didn't have a single overtime game in our first 12 games of the season, and then we get one in game 13. Nico Hishe would hit the post on the first shot of overtime, so that was pretty scary as kind of players got a little bit crisscrossed on the defensive coverage, and I think that led for that shot being hitting off the post. We didn't get a couple of good looks, and Brady Tkachuk would draw a power play with only a minute 23 in, and the Sens would take a timeout trying to capitalize on this power play. We would start 4 forwards on the power play, so it's Stützle, DeBrincat, Giroux, and Tkachuk, trying to find a way to snap this losing streak that we were on because it's at 6 games at that point. So on this power play, we were getting some good looks from DeBrincat and Timmy, which is nice to see, but Akira Schmid was making some huge saves. There was one that he made where basically a New Jersey Devils player lost her stick, and it was basically a 4-on-2 power play in a sense because of the fact one of the players didn't have a stick to actually poke it away and all that type of thing. So yeah, Akira Schmid making some huge saves to keep New Jersey from losing this game and losing their win streak. Now, there was a little bit of a slew fit from Ryan Graves on Timmy, but there was no penalty called on that play. And then Thomas Chabot would take a penalty after Shane Pinto basically went for a shot. It went all the way down the other side of the glass. And then there was going to be a breakout chance for New Jersey, but Thomas Chabot, basically with one hand, kind of knocked over a New Jersey Devils player. And basically this game would go to a penalty kill in overtime. So we went from having a good power play chance to win the game in overtime to a penalty kill in overtime. And this was with 39.8 seconds left, so very late into the overtime period as well. Dougie Hamilton would take a shot, and I believe Nico Hishe actually deflected it. I don't remember if I saw that correctly. I think I saw a notification that he did. But anyways, New Jersey would score on the power play with 33 seconds remaining, and they would take their win game streak to 8. We would go on to a 7-game losing streak. And yeah, it was not great at this point in time for us. So yeah, once again, another loss at that stage. Final shots in this game are 40-27 in favor of New Jersey, so Forsberg nearly got us the win in that one. Block shots were 23-11 in favor of us, hits were 14-6, and the face-offs were 50-50. So that was the second game of the week. Now we get into the third game of the week, which was against the Philadelphia Flyers, and the one that I just watched on TV, so this will be the most fresh in my mind. And yeah, this was the first game Claude Giroux played against the Flyers in Philadelphia, so it was a big game for that reason. Also, a couple other milestones in this game. Nick Holden was playing his 600th NHL game. Cam Talbot was playing his 400th NHL game. And yeah, there was another milestone late in the game, which we will talk about in a little bit. Anyways, the Sens would win this game 4-1. We're going to get to who scored those goals and all that type of thing. But we finally snap our 7-game winning streak, which is great to see. Finally, good to see this team in the win column again, and hopefully this could give us momentum for the rest of the season to come, because obviously once you win one game, you get hungry for more wins. So before this game would actually start, obviously Claude Giroux would get a nice little tribute and gets a standing ovation from the Flyers crowd. So salute to the Flyers fans out there that cheered on Claude Giroux today. That was a really great little kind of like ceremony-ish thing. Nice little tribute that they put out, and yeah, good to see him still getting a lot of recognition there in Philadelphia, even though if some Flyers fans are a little bit harsh on players once they leave teams. I know that for a fact. As even when I was at the Sens Flyers game like last weekend, there was guys saying, "Oh, Giroux, you shouldn't have left Philadelphia." It's like, well, Philly didn't look like they're going to be this good this season. Like, they've been a lot better than expected so far, but they're kind of sliding a little bit as of late. So there's that. So Giroux's also in a 7-game point streak going into this game with 5 goals, 3 assists, 8 points. So he has really been one of our best players on the team going into this one. So early into the game, Cam Talbot made some really big saves as JBD would make some really bad turnover. Obviously, he's a young defenseman, so he's going to be doing that from time to time. But a big couple saves from Cam Talbot keeps us at a scoreless game. Now on the 5th shot of the game for the Philadelphia Flyers, Travis Konechny would walk to the net and get a good chance. It would get stopped, but the loose puck would find its way to Hayes, and Hayes would make it 1-0 Philly early on. And the Sens wouldn't get too down on allowing that goal, as they basically would get a couple of good chances afterwards. Shane Pinto had some good looks. There was some good jump up from Thomas Chabot on some plays, and it was an okay first period at this point in time, even if we were down 1-0. Then the period starts to get a little bit more physical at this point in time. There was a couple big hits from Parker Kelly as he hit Ristolainen a couple times. And then we finally get some fisticuffs as JBD would fight Travis Konechny 11:06 in. And maybe, I wrote next to it, maybe we get some momentum out of this type of thing. And then there was another fight that happens at 13:52. So 2 fights within a span of 2 minutes and 50 seconds roughly. As basically it would be Kastelik fighting Tony DeAngelo. So a big size advantage for Tony DeAngelo there. So we get 2 big fights. It's getting a little bit chippy and stuff like that. Like even Claude Giroux is cross-checking Sanheim a little bit after the whistles and stuff like that. So it just all of a sudden kind of boiled into being a little bit more of a physical game at this point in time. And then Thomas Chabot would score a breakaway goal on the 9th shot of the game for us from Tkachuk and Giroux. So Giroux would pick up an assist again to continue his point streak with only 6 minutes left or so in the period. So it was really good to see our team get the momentum off those physical plays and basically drive it forward to a tie game. A little bit after that, Claude Giroux would take a slashing penalty. Unfortunately, it was kind of a play where he just basically went to slash, or like do maybe a little bit of a stick lift, and he ends up slashing the guy's stick and breaking it in half. Not really happy with how he played in that opening period as well. In an interview, he said. So after the first period, it would be 1-1, and the shots would be 17-9 in favor of Philadelphia, so we were getting outplayed quite a bit in that sense. Also, the block shots, the hits, and the face-offs were all in Philly's favor after 1, so not too good at this stage. Block shots were 6-5, hits were 25-15, so very physical period in terms of hits. Like if you compare that to New Jersey, I think the New Jersey game was like 6-3 the hits after 1 for us. This time around it was 25-15, so this game was very physical early on. Faceoffs were 70-30 in favor of Philadelphia, which is a big surprise considering normally we are one of the best faceoff teams in the league at this stage. So it was kind of surprising to see us not too good in the opening 20 minutes, but at least we had the tie going out of this first period. Now the second period is when we kind of took over this game and helped ourselves win this one. So we had a couple of good looks to start the period, 30 seconds to 2 minutes in, and then we kind of made some bad defensive coverages, and Travis Sanheim had a really good chance to get the Flyers up in this game, but he missed a net, I believe, or Cam Talbot had to deflect off a blocker, but luckily enough we still had a tie game at this stage. We were getting some good possession and zone time after that, though, so we were making up for that bad defensive coverage with some good O-zone time. And then JBD would take a hooking penalty off an Owen Tippett breakaway, but it was a good play by him, I would say, to do that, because Owen Tippett could have probably scored on that play. It honestly could have been a penalty shot as well, but it was not ruled that. So this penalty kill was doing actually really good in this game, so a good short-handed chance for Matthew Joseph was denied, and we made a good kill and only allowed one shot on goal just to keep it tied. So very good effort on the PK, made this actually stay as close as possible. We were like forcing a lot of turnovers also in the offensive zone, I wrote down, and made some good passes in the offensive zone too. Like, we were making some crisp passing, and it was a lot more accurate than it was in the first, like not as sloppy, I should say. So this was some good O-zone time to help give us a little bit more momentum in terms of maybe getting ourselves to lead. Now, halfway through the second period, Matthew Joseph would take an O-zone penalty as he was reaching for the puck. He basically tripped a guy, and once again we'd go to the penalty kill. Once again, our penalty kill was playing pretty aggressive at this stage as Parker Kelly had a good short-handed chance, but more saves from Carter Hart. We also had some big saves on our end on this penalty kill as Cam Talbot made 2 big saves on the PK, and basically Mott would kill the remainder of it with some good chances short-handed, like he drove to the net. Didn't get really much of a shot on goal, but he did kill off the last 20 seconds, which was great at this point in time. Then with around like the final 5 minutes of the period, we were a little bit on our heels late in this one. We were giving up a lot of chances and stuff like that, and we weren't really playing as good defensively, and we weren't playing as much offensively as we were earlier in this period. Wade Allison would get injured in this point in time. I don't know if he actually returned to the game. I don't remember if I saw it or not, but he basically went in for a hit and ended up injuring himself, so he would go down a tunnel. I don't know if he actually returned, like I said, but if he did, that would be good, obviously, because I don't really wish any injuries on any type of player. Even though Wade Allison kind of had that little kind of like shoving match with Eric Bransstrom last Saturday. And I remember when I was watching that game actually in person, I saw Wade Allison kind of stare down Bransstrom about that type of play. Like, he was like taking note of what number he was. Talbot was locked in at this stage, making some big saves just to keep this game as close as possible again and not giving Philly much. The Flyers would then finally get a penalty, which the refs were not doing too good in this game in the sense of being both teams' power plays, but they finally give us a power play, and it's Nick Delorier going off to the box late in this one. And we get a late power play goal from Alex DeBrincat. Some really good movement and great passing led to this nice, great finish in front of the net, and finally DeBrincat would crack the goose egg, and we would get the lead 2-1. That was very crucial in this game. Tkachuk and Stützle would draw the assist as per usual on the power play, with only like 48 seconds left in that one as well. So good to see us get the 2-1 lead going into the third at that stage. And then the Flyers would take another penalty right a little bit afterwards, only like 26 seconds later for tripping, but we would not capitalize on that late in the period. So it'd be 2-1 after 2. The shots would be 30-18 in favor of Philly, so we're getting a little bit back up there in the shots. The block shots were still in the Flyers' favor, 11-7. Face-off 60-40 in favor of Philly, and hits were also in Philly's favor, 42-25. So once again, very physical game for the most part. Then we get into the third period. We started it on the power play, and this power play really didn't do much. It didn't drive any offense, didn't get any chances really, but a dangerous play. Thomas Chabot got crushed by Travis Konechny, and he was slow to get up, and he went down the tunnel. I don't believe he returned in this game, so hopefully he is okay, and hopefully it's nothing serious. Hopefully it's just like a lower body injury that he could be recovered for in a few days or less. After this power play, our fourth line would have a couple good little hits and stuff like that, trying to get our team momentum, and they would also draw a penalty early on into this third period, which is nice to see, only 5 minutes and 10 seconds in, as Scott Laughton would go off for slashing, and that's one of their better penalty killers as well, so that's a huge move by the fourth line to just get out there, be physical, and get under the player's skin and draw some penalties. So Laughton goes to the box, you knock out their best penalty killer probably on the team that's dressed, and basically we go to a power play early on. The power play once again is showing some better movement than the other power play that we had earlier in this period that carried over from the second to the third. And there was a good one-timer chance for Batherson, but a big save by Carter Hart, as basically I think it was Stützle threw it across like a nice saucer pass. Batherson had all the net to shoot at, but Hart just laterally moved really well and kept this game at a 2-1 score. Luckily though for the Sens, we would score another power play goal from DeBrincat as he kind of caught Hart a little bit cheating in a sense, like he didn't get over to the post fast enough, and DeBrincat would find that opening to score his second goal of the night, and it would be 3-1 Ottawa. So it's good to see DeBrincat scoring here late in this game, and also 2 power play goals. So our power play is starting to click, and DeBrincat's starting to score more, so everything's kind of looking up at this stage in this game. The assists will go to Derek Brassard and Claude Giroux, so 2 former Flyers. Good to see Giroux pick up his second assist of the game as well. DeBrincat was flying after he scored his 2 goals. He almost got a hat trick, but he did not get enough on to his third chance. But yeah, he was flying tonight and playing probably the best player on the team in terms of driving the offense, I'd say. Now, Claude Giroux stole it from Carter Hart and almost banked it off him to try and go for another goal. So Claude Giroux was trying his best to get on the score sheet a little bit more as well, and just doing whatever he can to get this team to victory. So then the Flyers would pull their goalie, trying to get back into this game with 4:10 left, but unfortunately for them, the Sens would find an empty netter with 3:54 left from Tim Stützle. He basically drove to the net, and basically it was going to be awarded a goal regardless because he was getting hooked going to the net, but he picks it up and scores the goal, and he gets his 100th career point, and it does knock out the Flyers and is won by a score of 4-1. Brady Tkachuk would pick up his 3rd assist of the game and make it a 4-1 final. Final shots in this game are 38-27 in favor of Philadelphia, so we got outshot still, but we managed to win this one 4-1. Faceoffs were still in Philly's favor, 55-45, but it much improved from the first period on, which is good to see. Hits were 59-37 for Philadelphia, so tons of hits in this game, and the block shots were also in Philly's favor, 14-11. The 3 stars of the game, Cam Talbot got the first star of the game with 37 saves, which is not a surprise. He was locked in from the get-go pretty much. Alex DeBrincat would get second star, obviously, with the 2 goals in this game, one of them being the game winner, and Claude Giroux would obviously get third star with 2 assists against his former team in their former building. So we would win this game 4-1 and snap our 7-game losing streak. So hopefully this is a sign for things to come, and hopefully this team can build momentum off this win. So that was a nice win to wrap up the week, and hopefully this continues, like I said. Now let's get into my overall thoughts on the week. So I gave our offense a B+ rating because we scored, I would think, around like 3.6 goals per game. So we're still scoring a decent amount. It's just more about playing better defensively in front of our goaltenders, I'd say, at this stage. Our defense I gave a C+ rating to because today's defensive effort was pretty good. But the game against the Canucks, obviously, early in the week kind of hurt that a little bit. And also the game against the Devils was not terrible either in a sense because Forsberg kind of kept us in that game in terms of the shots and all that type of thing. So I think in general our defense had an okay week. Goaltending had a pretty solid week as well, I'd say, for the most part. Forsberg was good in the OT loss to the Devils, and then Talbot was good in that last game that he played today against the Flyers. The game against the Canucks, Talbot didn't play the best either, so that's why it drops down to a B. Now, in terms of top players this week, I'd give Alex DeBrincat obviously one of those. He's probably going to be the guy that's on the thumbnail for this episode. He had 2 goals, 2 assists for 4 points in 3 games this week. Brady Tkachuk with 3 assists in 3 games played, but all of them came against the Flyers, so 3 points in 3 games. Tim Stützle had 2 goals, 2 assists for 4 points in 3 games this week. Hamonic had 2 goals in 3 games, so I put him there, even though he probably didn't have the best plus-minus, but he had 2 goals in 3 games, which is impressive for a guy that doesn't usually put the puck in the net. And Shane Pinto, 2 goals in 3 games, just because of the fact he had a very good game against the New Jersey Devils despite the loss. Now let's take a look at our prospect watch and see how some guys are doing down there in Belleville. Obviously, these numbers might be a little bit outdated by the time you guys are seeing this episode because of the fact I am recording this at 4:30 or so on November the 12th. So Ridley Griggs got 4 points in 7 games. He picked up his first goal with Belleville, so that was nice to see. Phil Daoust has returned from injury, but he's still at point per game, 4 points in 4 games. Robbie Venti's still out with an injury. He's got 5 points in 8 games still. Lassie Thompson's still at 5 points, but in 11 games. Sokolov's got 9 points in 11 games, still with the 1 goal only, which is still kind of concerning in my opinion. Cole Reinhardt's up to 8 points in 11 games. Jacob Bernard-Docker obviously is not down there in Belleville anymore. He got called up by the Sens, and I don't know if he's going to get sent back down at any time soon because he's been pretty solid for the most part, and he had his first fight today, so I don't think he's going to be sent down anytime soon. But if he does, obviously I have him still on this list, but if he is to be sent back down or whatever, then I'll continue adding his stats. If he doesn't ever get sent back down this rest of the season, I will have to replace him on this list, I guess, with somebody else. Angus Crookshank's up to 7 points in 11 games. Victor Lodin is still injured, has 3 points in 5 games. And Max Guinette up to 3 points in 11 games. Then we head over to our prospect watch in the junior leagues and stuff like that. Tyler Clevin has 1 goal through 10 games. He hasn't picked up anything since this last game pretty much. Nordberg's still at 1 assist in 12 games. Oscar Pettersson's still at 22 points in 18 games, but I believe he's representing Sweden at some under 20 things, so and he's been scoring goals, so he's been really good still. And hopefully this guy gets the NHL at some point, because I didn't see this guy definitely being a good goal scorer. Even at the AHL level, I'm not sure about the NHL level yet because I haven't seen a lot of his highlights, but this guy seems like he has a pretty good shot. Jordan Donovan up to 6 points in 11 games. Boucher is still suspended, but he is still over point per game at 10 in 9. Zach Ostapchuk still at 13 and 11. Jimenez got 5 points through 12 games. Romeo might be injured because his stats haven't updated in a while. He's got 2 points in 12 games. Carson Latimer's been probably the hottest prospect this week, though. He's up to 17 points in 17 games. I believe he's had like 7 points this week alone, but 6 goals and 11 assists. Yeah, he's been really good. So that's him. And finally, Ben Roger up to 3 points in 12 games. I don't think he's picked up points in a few weeks, but that's okay. And finally, our goaltending prospects, Mads Søgaard has 1 win through 6 games with a 4.01 goals against average and an .899 save percentage. He did recently get injured in the last game that the Belleville Senators played. I don't know if it's a day-to-day thing or what, but it seems like he got slashed or something, I think it was. And it could have been a lot worse than it was, but it is only going to be something that probably keeps him out a few days again. But sucks to see Søgaard going down with another injury, because obviously he's one of our better goalie prospects, so we want him to play as much as possible down there in Belleville. Kevin Mandolese is still at 5 games played with 2 wins and a 3.54 goals against average and an .864 save percentage. Levy hasn't played this week, but I don't really know why, but he's played 13 games with 6 wins, the 2.03 goals against average and a .921 save percentage. And Kevin Rayler's numbers have also stayed the same at 12 games played with 2 wins, a 3.6 goals against average and an .891 save percentage. Finally, let's take a look ahead at next week's action. So the first game of the week, we're going to be taking on the New York Islanders. This obviously is the game that's going to be starting at 5:30 Eastern, so it's a little bit of a weird start. I'll try and get back from work as early as possible to watch this one, but basically it's the game that afterwards you could, if you're actually at the game, you could watch Daniel Alfredsson get inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame, which is pretty cool. But yeah, the Islanders have been pretty solid this season for the most part. I believe they started this season off not that good, but now they are 9-6 on the season, at least at the time of this recording. But they are playing later tonight, so they could be 10-6 or 9-7 by the time you guys see this. Also, the Buffalo Sabres are playing later tonight, but they are 7-7. They've definitely been sliding a lot since we played them in the first game of the season, so hopefully we could get some redemption on them for that. If Craig Anderson starts this game, it'd be neat to see him taking on the Sens in Ottawa, obviously. And finally, we're going to be taking on New Jersey again for the second week in a row. This time around in Ottawa, they're 11-3 on the season. I believe they're also playing tonight as of this recording. So this might be a little bit of a tough week, considering most of these teams, or 2 of these teams, have already beaten us once this season, so we need to get redemption on them. And in the Islanders game, we definitely got to win that one for Daniel Alfredsson. So if you're at the game for that one, make sure at 11-11 of each period you chant Elfie, because hopefully that helps give the team some momentum and another big victory. Because if we could get a win against them and against the Sabres, that at least things are starting to turn right. Games against New Jersey, I don't really know if we stand a chance unless New Jersey isn't going to do good because of that fact Vanacek's currently injured a little bit, but he might be back before that game even starts, so who knows what that case is going to be. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Snipe and Sens weekly recap. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Once again, we'll be up here again next Sunday with another episode about this and a future weeks and stuff like that. I'm having a lot of fun making these videos. I don't know how you guys are liking them, but let me know what you guys think down below, and we'll see you guys next week.